Well, Dr. Magimai needs no introduction in the SIGNIS circles. I mean, he's well known, he's very qualified, he holds a doctoral degree in social communications, he's gone round the world. Believe me, he's a great man. Put your hands together for Dr. Magimai, please. Thank you.
Good evening to all of you. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for 3 good reasons. Number 1, for having chosen me as a moderator. Number 2, for organizing this program so well. For the past 2 days, I told my friend, Father Stanley, doesn't look like a seminar. To me, it looks like a retreat, right? The reflection, meditation, right? It's wonderful. Testimony after testimony, stories after story, experience after experience. All the presentations really touched us. It's a wonderful opportunity for us. Yesterday, when Sister Nirmala was passing to the exhibition, I followed her to click a photograph with her. So I gave the camera to Nirmal, and then when Nirmal was about to click, I just touched Sister Nirmala unknowingly. I felt as if 1,000 watts electricity was passed on to me, right? Because Sister has touched Mother. She lived with Mother, right? She experienced all that Mother had to give her. That was my experience. It's a wonderful experience, and the retreat, the reflections are really, really wonderful. And the third reason why I should appreciate our organizers is they have chosen a wonderful title for this particular last session. The title is Untold Stories. Right? You know, they want to create and retain the excitement till the last minute. There's a small story. Once an 8-year-old boy coming from the school, she told her mother, "Mom, tomorrow we have a small parent-teacher meeting." Mother was wondering, what do you mean by small parent-teacher meeting? Then the boy told, well, only 3 people, you, me, and the principal. The mother knew what had happened. So untold stories, right from beginning, all the stories, at least to me, or for many of us, they are untold stories. We are really wonderful stories, especially when we saw the film yesterday. Even the sisters there, the excitement, many stories were untold. So this is the third reason why I want to appreciate. Just give me 2 more minutes, I'll wind up, because later I may not get time to speak. The two important story I heard, right? It was told to me by a father. Once Mother Teresa was in an airport, and she humbly asked the shopkeeper, "Can I make a phone call?" He said yes. Then after some time, she asked the shopkeeper, it's going to be an international call. He said, "Yes, go ahead, sister." And then when she began to speak to the other person, the shopkeeper was stunned. She was speaking to Bill Clinton, right? Straight call, right? Imagine the relationship she enjoyed with top people, the president of the superpower. For the mother, poor, whether you are president of superpower or anybody, one and the same, right? She loved poor more than presidents and, prime ministers, etc. The second important story is about my own state. One member of parliament, he came to Kolkata to attend a conference. Then she wanted to see Mother Teresa. So he got an appointment, went to the house, and the sisters told him to wait in a small bench. He was waiting. Okay. Then after some time, one small person came and then touched his shoulder and asked, "Son, do you want any help? Do you want anything?" No, I'm waiting, he said. She went, passed by. After a few minutes, again the small person, "Son, do you want anything from me?" No, I'm waiting for someone. Again, second time he said. Then after some time, he became restless. She called one sister, sister, I have been waiting to see Mother Teresa, but I'm not able to see. Then that sister told, twice Mother came to you. Right? But you said you were waiting for someone. He was broken down into pieces. He felt ashamed. Because in Tamil Nadu, even to meet a Panchayat president, you have to go through 5 persons. He couldn't believe Mother Teresa herself coming down to him and touching, He thought that there will be paraphernalia, many people coming with, jing bang, etc. So he wrote it in a newspaper and I read it. Right? This is the second story. Wonderful. The final story, I have to say, is funeral of Mother Teresa. I was just sitting in front of the television. I didn't go anywhere. Around the clock. I was sitting just in front of the television. Imagine half of the world, the president, the prime minister, diplomats, three-fourths of the world was there. One bomb finished, half of the world would have gone. Imagine the respect Mother Teresa held. And on this side, top-class media people, journalists, photographers, television, BBC, they set up a mini studio over there, CNN, CNN, IB, plenty. Then I thought to myself, so usually for advocacy, we do 2 things. Number 1, you go after media. Number 2, make media come after you. What Mother followed, she made media come after her. Right? She didn't force them to come. She didn't invite them. Media by itself came. Thanks to the deeds. By her actions, she invited the media. She attracted media. That is the reason why I always say Mother Teresa is one of the most powerful communicator for me and for many others.
I will now invite Mr. and Mrs. Agarwala to please come and take their place on the dais, please. Mr. Agarwala is basically a businessman dealing in iron and steel. But apart from his business side, he has a very vibrant social responsibility and he's lived up to it. Mrs. Agarwala first interacted with Mother in 1967. You heard it right, in 1967. And that association continues till today. This was when Boys Town was being built and being run. That is the first interaction they had with Mother Teresa. Since 1980, she has been very actively working, especially in the Kalighat project. And from there, she's been working very, very closely with Mother. Mr. Agarwal started a very close association with Mother from the time Shantidan was conceived. Shantidan is a home not too far away from here. So from the time of Shantidan being conceived and put together, it was Mr. Agarwala and Mrs. Agarwala who stood by Mother and helped her a great deal. I will not tell you much about them because you'd rather hear it from the horse's mouth, if I may say so. Can we please put your hands together and welcome them?
Hello. I'm sorry. This is the first time in my life that I'm talking from a mic. From a mic. So I don't know whether I'll be able to talk properly to your satisfaction or not, and how long I don't know. As far as my association with Mother is concerned, something has already been said. The first time when Mother wanted me to take active interest in the Shantidan project, she just called me. And she asked me a very question which I couldn't understand what was the meaning of the question. Will you accept a gift of God which I want to give you? I didn't know what the meaning is, the gift of God. Why should I say no to it? But anyway, I said, yes, Mother. Are you sure? Yes, Mother. Then she introduced to me a father who was expert in this drug addiction people. And he wanted to open a home here for drug addiction people. The Mother said, introduced that father to me and said that this home has to be done, land has to be arranged and all these things. And I don't want to do it in the name of missionaries of charity. I want to do it separately. So you have to take all active interest and not expect anything from missionaries of charity. And you must do this thing for Father. He said, Mother, but without your help, how can it be done? He said, no, I'll help you personally, but the society will not take active interest in it. Will you do it? Then she again gave me a chance. Now are you sure that you'll accept this gift of God? I was in a fix. It's a big responsibility to say yes, and in the presence of Mother to say no was something which I didn't dare to do it. I said, yes, Mother. Think over it again? Yes, Mother. So that day, I came close to Mother, and the story of Shantijan began. Then I had to go for arranging the land for it, go for the funds for it, and all these things had to be done, which, with Mother accompanying me everywhere, getting for the land, government, people, and all these things, so we did work together. So this is how I got in close touch with Mother. Now, as the title of today's thing is Untold Stories. So what I did with Mother, mostly all the sisters, many of the sisters know it, my wife knows it, and other people know it. Now I have to say certain things that even which she doesn't know. One day, there was a news in the newspaper that some sisters at Shantijan, there was one lady who had come there to stay for 3, 4, 5 days, she was there. And the sisters over there kept her goods, some money of hers, and said that unless you get converted, we will not release this. And she was stuck over there. This news came out in the papers, and it was said by that girl in the presence of the president of, or the vice president of Vishwa Hindu Parishad. So, because it was in the presence of that leader, the newspapers gave very prominent news to that. That news, when it came, I read in the papers at 6 o'clock in the morning. I rushed to Shantijan, Sister Melani was there. Then I started understanding what exactly had happened. I studied over there from Sister Melani. That girl was a planted over there in Shantijan by someone who wanted to impress the VHP president. And that girl came out and gave this statement, and it came out in the papers. So this man who wanted to impress the VHP president played all the dirty game. Somehow I knew this man. And this man, I understood over there that this man had came to meet that girl over there, and all these things. Then I asked Sister, what exactly? She said, no money, question of this thing. There's nothing like that we had talked. She was helpless. She wanted to do some work in Ramakrishna Mission or this thing. So she was here for some days. Mother gave permission to keep her for some days. By the time I understood the whole thing over there, I got a call from Mother at my house that come immediately. She also read in the papers. I did not know it. I was there. There was no mobile telephone those days. Somehow from there I reached Mother house. So the sisters downstairs said, Mother is very anxious to see you. She has telephoned 3 times to your house. And they said that you have come to Mother house. I went to Mother. I said, have you read in the papers? And yes, Mother. That was the day. Only once in my life I have felt that Mother did not know the answer to the position that came out in the papers. She was surprised that a thing like this, where it is a charge on the sister in charge of a house, having taken money from someone, not releasing the money and asking anyone to get herself converted. So I said, how can this be in this thing like that? I said, Mother, I'm just coming from Shantijan, and this thing is absurd. I know what has happened. This girl has been planted by someone. She was living there for 4 days. She had met Mother at Mother house before going there. She wanted mother's permission to go and live there. She had gone there, found out that, see, we don't keep women like that over there. Mother somehow said, all right, the sisters are going there, you can go there, but don't stay more than 4 or 5 days. Then you must find your own place. So mother sent her over there. Then mother did not know the answer to what to do about it. I had already made up my mind when I was coming from Shantidan. And I said this matter should be taken to the police immediately so that the police will handle it and the person who had planted her over there will get caught. And this girl will also get caught. So, mother agreed with me that all right, we don't tell anything to the media, we don't call the media and give our reply to it, we'll just tell the police. So we just called the police people whom we knew, and he immediately came to mother house. Then he went with me to Shantidan, and over there he had some assistant with him, took over the luggage of that girl, found out in it. Now everything in the statement she gave to the press was proved wrong. The day she travelled, from where she travelled. So the ticket over there, the ticket when she wants to go back, all those tickets were there. So it could be disproved. But there were some bus tickets over there, which were for different dates. All these things the police took over, and then some 300 something rupees was in her bag. Police took over the whole thing, and then police gave the statement to the press and went to the office of Vishnu Hindu Parishad. And then that girl ran away. Next, police statement came out in the papers that she was a plant and she was doing like this. So that was the only time when I felt that mother did not know the answer to what to be done. Otherwise, always, whatever problem had come, she knew the answer to it. This was something which she could not imagine that people could do things like that, plant someone over there who will give such an absurd statement against the MC sisters. So that question was something, this story came out in the papers, that's a public thing. Next day the police statement came out in the papers, that's a public thing. But how we handled it, and there I could feel that mother who had all the answers to even bigger problems than this, in this case she did not know what to do. She first said, let's call the press and give a press statement. Every time in the question of press, she used to tell us, avoid the press. This was one time when I had to tell her, mother, avoid the press. Because this statement, giving back any statement from you will make things worse. Because then they'll take advantage. This is a political move and we should not get into the political trap. Next, a police statement came out that that girl has run away and that girl, everything what in the statement was false. So this is one thing which is correctly an untold story. Yeah. One another untold story was, one day mother and I were going in a car. We just stopped near there's some traffic jam or something near the Calcutta Electric head office. So when we were standing there, for 10 minutes the car didn't move. Mother said, what is this building over here? I said, Mother, it's Calcutta Electric. Oh yes, I've got very urgent work with Calcutta Electric. Come on, let's go. So he said, come on, let's go to Calcutta Electric. Mother, what? Come on, let's go, car will go. I told the driver already to keep the car, we are going in. I could see the car of the proprietor of Calcutta Electric, the owner of Calcutta Electric was standing there, whom I knew. The officers I didn't know, so we just got down and then I said that I want to meet Mr. Goenka. So as soon as the Darwan or the liftmen saw mother, they immediately informed Mr. Goenka on intercom and we went there. So Mr. Goenka was informed that Mr. Agarwala has come with Mother Teresa. So he had come and was standing at the lift. And when we got down from the lift, Goenka was standing there. So I introduced him to mother, and then we went to his chamber over there. He said, yes, mother, what can I do for you? Mother said, in mother house, my electric bill is coming to more than 300 rupees now. So there must be some pilferage of the electricity. It's coming to more than 300 rupees now. Even within me, I also laughed, like you all have laughed just now. But anyway, my mother said that. He also did not know what to do. He said, no, mother, what about you? He said, no, pilferage is going on. He said, I'll take care of it. He said, no, you must send someone. You must see if there's no pilferage in it. So, anyway, this I already discussed with mother 2 or 3 times, that mother, there's no pilferage. It's only the rates have gone up, and mother was anxious that the sisters don't misuse the electricity. So every night she used to put off the electricity light herself. So she did not trust the sisters to waste it, so she had to put it herself. So anyway, Mr. Goenka had no other alternative but to say, yes, mother, sister. And then he asked me in Marwadi, in my own language, which mother wouldn't understand. I told him, you don't have to do much about it. He said, no, I can stop billing her. I said, no, that won't satisfy her. You see, if you stop billing her, that won't satisfy her. Because even then, the pilferage is going on. So, so he agreed. Next day, some people changed some wire and other cable here and there. And after that, the bill started coming 10, 20 rupees less. Then mother didn't bother about it. So, somehow both mother and I. Then once some fellow used to telephone mother house, and particularly in the evening, late evening, and talk dirty things with the sisters, whoever picked up the phone. Now, that thing was going on, so I took up the matter with the telephone office that how can catch that fellow. At those days, the number didn't flash or anything, so they said that the only way out is, we'll give you a second line. When that fellow telephones, someone must keep on talking with him and talk with him in his language that he remains interested in talking. So otherwise he won't talk. So the sister must talk to him in that language. And then from the second telephone, inform us, then we will check, find out from what number the telephone is coming. I made those arrangements, didn't talk with mother. One of the sisters, I managed to convince her to talk dirty with him, and and she agreed. Now, that sister is Sister Camillus. Camille. She agreed with me. But then the telephone must not be in mother's room. It has to be somewhere outside. Because sometimes when the telephone mother picked up, she used to say, son, how can you talk like this? I'm like your mother and all this thing. So in her own language, she used to tell him. That fellow used to cut the line. When the sister used to pick up, and if he was a young voice, then he used to say that, come on, why do you waste your life, your time with the missionaries of charity? Why don't you come out, we can have fun, this and that, and all these things. So, just when the new telephone came, mother got the hint that a new telephone has come, and Mr. Agarwala has arranged that telephone. So the second telephone is there. Next day when I went to her, she called me, I have got this new telephone. Then I had to explain to her that this is the reason for it. No. I'll talk with him. My sisters don't ask Sister Camillus to do all those things with that man. These young girls, you see, they can't. Sister Camillus wasn't so young then. Even then, mother said, no. Anyway, without that, there was no way out of it. I said, mother, all right. And then we managed that someday the telephone came, Sister Camillus was sporting enough to talk with him, and we could get his number and catch that fellow. So that's how we managed to. Now I think I've taken too much of your time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My regards to the SIGNIS India International members, my sisters and brothers of Missionaries of Charity, and my co-speakers. Thanks, SIGNIS. Thanks, SIGNIS, for inviting me to relate some of my experiences with Mother and what I have learned by observing her. I will try to tell them to my best capacity, as I am not a speaker, but just a worker. I work for the needy with MC Sisters in Nirmal Hriday, Aligarh. I met Mother in 1967 in Boys Town, so West Bengal. It was an orphanage run by Father Ban, and Mother was in the governing body, along with the other members of the church. That day, Mother had come for the meeting, and Father introduced her to me. We all gathered in the chapel, all the boys too. There, the way Mother spoke to the children, that too in Bengali, zigzagging between all the rows, something happened to me. Such adoration arose in my heart that from that day till date, she is my godmother, sent by our Lord Almighty. That time then she was in person, now she is in spirit. She is always present as my guardian angel, guarding me in every way possible. Soon we and my husband were made the member of the governing body. Every month, Mother, a sister, and both of us in the same car would go for the meetings. At a time, we were together for long, long periods. Gradually, we became very close. That time, Mother will not allow me to work in the homes. Said, take care of your children. Boys' towns and ladies' study group is enough. I was then the president of the LSG. In 1980, I went to Mother. Mother, now my daughter young is married. Now I am free, I have no responsibility. Mother thought for 5 minutes. Then she said, long time I have not met Mr. Agarwala. Ask him to meet me. So whenever I used to tell Mother wants to see you, he would immediately go. So I also went along with him. My unlucky Mother said, this lady says that she has no responsibility. And sisters will know the way Mother used to say, teach a lesson. So who is responsible for this person? Whose responsibility is this? And I was so stunned, I can't tell you, that I didn't know what to say. That is how Mother taught us that family comes first. Family must come first. Then, before that, but she used to take me along to various places quite often. And once, when we had gone to Titagarh, I was there, Sister Camillus was there, Mother. We had gone for some work to Titagarh. While returning at 8 o'clock, we went. And by the time we were coming back, Mother asked me, what's the time? I said, Mother, 12 o'clock. Oh, it's a long time. We can do some Bishop House work also. You know, I did some loud thinking, you know. I told sister, I am tired. Mother is not tired at her age. Mother turned around and said, you pray for 6 hours, 6 times a day, you will also get the energy. My energy is prayer. I get all my energy from the prayer. My battery is charged. That's how she used to teach me lessons of how to not to get. And that's how I learned how the level of energy. And then so many things I learned from her, observing her, like the powers of prayer, the value of love, and then how to realize the Almighty God and how He provides. All this I saw happening with Mother. It so happened that during the Bangladesh war, Mother had come from Kustia and I had gone to meet her. Mother said, and before that, I had just been to Mrs. Arora, General Arora's wife, Mrs. Arora, and she was telling me, see, all my garages are full of hospital appliances. I don't know what to do. And when I was returning, I thought Mother must have come back from Kustia. Let me go and meet her. So I went and met her. I told Mother, what did you find over there? Then she told me about how the miserable all things was. My sisters, I've left there, somebody has given me a place, but no hospital appliances. Suddenly a bulb jars. I said, Mother, I'm coming back. So I went back to Mrs. Arora and told her that Mother needs all this. She immediately called General Arora and told her, General Arora said, ask Mother and whatever she needs, give her. So I called Mother. Mother said that whatever they give, we will, it's all right with us. And ask them when to send the truck. Then General said, no, we will send the trucks. And 5 trucks load of things went. Then Mother said, tell him that to pick up a few sisters and things from us also. So all 5 trucks went. This is how God provided for her. And Mother used to say, I said sometimes when I questioned, the Mother said, if your cause is noble, trust Him, He will provide. Don't worry, He will provide. And I've seen this being her cause provided many times. So this also I learned that Almighty, if we pray intently, He will provide, and He is there. Thank you very much for.
I will now invite Mrs. Chanda Chakraborty to the dais, please. Mrs. Chanda Chakraborty is a very quiet and frail lady, as you can see, but she's a powerhouse of strength. And she stood by Mother Teresa since 1980 when Shantidan. It was during the building of Shantidan that she came into contact with Mother and immediately fell in love with Mother. And from there on, whenever Mother had a problem or whenever Mother wanted something to do with the administration, it was Chanda Chakraborty who helped her, and she will tell you much more about this association when she gets to speak. Can we please welcome her?
My hearty regards to all of them, all of you. I will say something in front of you about Mother's work. She always thought that God will provide everything if we have some on him. Mother's life was full with God's blessings, but many times in her life she stood before a disastrous situation where she felt there was no way to go. Still, she never be impatient. She prayed deeply. She surrendered herself to God's will and slowly found her way. She believed she is doing everything for Jesus so that everything is beautiful, even though that is very difficult. But He will provide everything. The more we trust Him, the more He will do. In early 70s, West Pakistan attacked Bangladesh. War situation became worse. Stream of people were coming to India to save their lives. They left everything behind. Sick, extremely tortured, distressed, homeless people were gathered along the borders of West Bengal. Mother became extremely worried. She started relief work with her sisters. They attend both Bangladesh and Indian relief camps. Sisters were giving their maximum efforts to save those distressed people. But Mother realized more help was necessary. She appealed every country of the world for help. She asked every human being to come, see and help to stop the cry of distressed humanity. American Relief Society gave answer to her call. They planned to send one big plane full with necessary equipments for building relief camps. The plane would carry plenty of tent, food, medicines, etc. But at that time, Mother had no place to establish that camps. She appealed to government, to corporation, and to rich people of Calcutta for a piece of land near airport. Because then she had also no money and manpower to carry the huge things far off from airport. No answer came. She was not able to arrange any land near airport. Time passed, but she did not get anything. News came to Mother, fully packed plane was coming. She became anxious. Then she herself went to airport area in search of a land. Mr. Gomes, one of the benefactors of Missionaries of Charity, was with her. Whole day passed. She did not get any hope from anywhere. Mr. Gomes became very tired. Mother requested him to have some tea. They entered in a restaurant near the airport. Next morning, the plane would arrive. Mother became extremely worried. Still, she was discussing with Mr. Gomes where she would go just now. Suddenly, the manager of the restaurant came to them and asked the cause of their worries. Mr. Gomes explained everything. The manager requested them to meet Mr. Singh, the owner of the restaurant, at Parasat, because he purchased one big piece of land near the airport to build a hotel. But the land was so near the airport, he did not get the permission for building big hotel. Immediately Mother went to Barasat. She met Mr. Singh. Mr. Singh saw Mother and listened everything. He gave her permission with pleasure to use that land in Green Park for indefinite period for that relief work. Next morning, plane arrived and mother built up a big relief camp and started her work with sisters. Thousands of people got shelter, food and treatment. Endless effort of mother and sisters helped them to come out from that crisis. John Kennedy was the president of that relief society. He came to visit the work. He became speechless to see the arrangement of mother. At the end of the visit, he met Sister Agnes. She was then washing dirty clothes of diarrhea patients. Mr. Kennedy wanted to touch her hand. She refused to touch because her hands were then full with dirt and infection. But Mr. Kennedy touched her hand and said, "I never touched such a clean and beautiful hand in my life." After reaching USA, John Kennedy started to raise a fund among his family for Dum Dum. The first donor was his mother. They donated a huge amount of money to mother to build up Nirmala Kennedy Center in Green Park. Now about 600 mentally challenged women are living there. They are receiving mother's love, compassion and service from sisters. Sometimes when we went to visit Nirmala Kennedy Center, we asked mother about those mentally challenged women. Mother immediately raised her hand towards the sky and answered, "As long as he allows us to do, we will try our best to do something beautiful for him and beautiful for those challenged women." Her trust, her love, her feeling of nothingness leaded her from 1 to million. She believed, "He will do. I am only a little instrument in his hands. And because I am just nothing, he wants to use me." This sense of humility was her root of zeal for souls and charity. She felt Mother Mary went to haste to serve as a handmaid, not as Mother of God. Her dream was all MCs must be pure and humble. She believed pure heart can see God in the poor. A humble heart can love and serve God in the poor. That poverty may be physical, mental, or spiritual. She surrendered herself totally to Lord. She stood like a small child and waited patiently for the storm to subside, because she knows after that storm his light would come. We, the Mother's children, always pray to Mother, "Induce your spirit of humility within us. Make us pure and holy so that we can give our service to every distressed human being." আমার প্রণাম রইল আমার মায়ের পায়ে। মাগো, কোথায় রাখবো সেই প্রণাম? তোমার পা যে পাতা আছে সবখানে। নমস্কার।
I will welcome someone who's known Mother literally since her birth. Can you please welcome Sandra Singh? Sandra was very lucky. Sandra happens to live close to Mother House. So she is the neighbor of Mother. So from her childhood, she used to run into Mother House, and she has those rare glimpses of Mother which probably you and I have never had access to. So today we will hear Sandra speak, and she will share those encounters with Mother. Sandra is also a lay MC sister. So can you please put your hands together to welcome Sandra Singh?
Firstly, I just want to praise and thank God for giving me this privilege to be here among you all. I am truly humbled by this privilege, and I really don't know where to start because there's so much to say. But I always know that the past always serves the present and the future. And for this I stand before you today in great awe of whatever Mother has taught me and all the experiences I've had with her. The story goes back long ago when I was just a little child. My parents were always very busy. And so they had kept a lady who was a Bengali Christian Catholic woman to look after me. And so she would really take good care of me, and one of the greatest things I received from her is my little walks in the evening to Mother house. She would love to go there, and I too would be tagged along, and I would go there, and there would be Mother many a times in the evening, busy walking around and doing something or the other. And I would just love to see her move. I loved to see her walk. And every time I went as a child, it used to be an exhilarating feeling, just being with her. I don't know. At that point of time, I really could not understand what it was. But I would often ask her that, Mother, will you give me some biscuits to eat? It's not that I was hungry. It was just because I'd love to touch her and take things from her. It made me feel as if now I realize that I was touching God and I was getting some sustenance at that point of my life. In fact, sometimes when she'd be ready to go out and she had a little bag clutched to her with a rosary in her hand, she would see me coming in and she would quickly catch hold of her bag tight to her chest because she knew very well that I was going to put my hand in and steal her biscuits, you know. Because the other sisters would come forward and say, come, take the biscuit from me, you know. But somehow it was not the biscuit that attracted me. It was what Mother was giving me, you know. So that was something very beautiful. I can never forget those touches. And it always left a lasting memory and a lasting effect on my life. And as I grew older, I used to run to Mother with all my little sins, you know, with all my little failings and faults that I thought were wrong. And she became like my confessor, you know. But at that time, of course, I didn't know it was something like that. So I used to run to her and I would tell her, Mother this and Mother that, you know, I did this wrong and I told lies and, you know, I said a bad word and things like that, you know. And she would always tell me, she'd say, you know, you love Jesus? I say, yes, I love Jesus. And she would take me to the Blessed Sacrament and she'd say, you go there and you tell Jesus everything. Give him that. He loves that. And I said, he loves my sins. She'd say, no, he doesn't love your sins, but he loves you for whatever you had. And I didn't know at that point of time she was revealing to me the beautiful thirst of Jesus for mankind and the love that Jesus wants to give and the love that Jesus wants to receive from us in spite of whatever weaknesses we are in. Later on, of course, I got to realize that more and more as time went on. And so, then as I grew older, she would tell me there was a time when I had to make a decision about something. I mean, some kind of things, I don't know. Very often I would go to her and ask her, Mother, what should I do? And she was not always very, available because she used to be so busy. But I amazed at her now as I look back, how she managed to give me that little time. And that time was so precious, and it's really has been a moment in time, many moments in time for me. And then one day she told me, you know, when anyone tells you something and you have to choose something, you hear it from this ear, okay? And if it gives you peace and you feel happy about it, then let it go into your heart. And if you don't feel happy about it and you don't feel comfortable, then let it come out from this ear. I don't know what it meant, but I realized that even today it really helps me to be proactive, you know. When I hear negative things and things which are not soothing to me, I always try my best now not to let it get into me and get me down in life. And that was a very great lesson I learned from that small little simple example that she gave me. Even though I've read in the books about the 10 fingers and the 5 fingers that she always taught on, but from St. Mary's Youth, I was in the youth group those days, and we had gone to her as a group, because I'd love to go on Thursdays. Used to be our school holidays. Loretto's always had Thursday holiday those days. And so on Thursdays, we would get this group together and we would go either to Premdan or to Shishu Bhavan or to Kalighat sometimes, you know. So when we had gone to Mother once, just before leaving, we'd love to go just to get her touch and her blessing, and, you know, to feel that we are going with the presence of God even more powerfully. And so one day when we went there, she was telling us, you know, that don't forget that Jesus is in the poor. And, you know, you must always see Jesus in the poor. You must see God in the poor. You know, then only you will find that Jesus touching you, and the poor will make you rich. The poor will give you, you want to go and give them, but they will give you more. And, you know, that really taught me a great deal of, that really taught me a good lesson. And then when we used to go there, there was a time when we went to Kalighat and she accompanied us with the other novices. And, you know, it was the greatest experience in my life. Even today, as I stand before you, I can tell you that it was one of my few times in the earlier days that I visited the Nirmal Hriday. And when we were there, we just saw Mother working with those who were sick and those who were dying. And there was one of the patients there when Mother was just saying something and we could not understand, because Mother was talking softly. She was whispering into these expiring bodies, you know. And this particular person, though he was dying, but the way he looked at Mother just gave us new hope and new life within ourselves. I literally felt heaven on earth. I was just thinking that the people outside are walking around, they're going to the temple, or they're going to the church, or they're going to the market, or they're doing something or the other. And here we are so privileged to experience heaven on earth. Though it was such a place, the people were dying, but I don't know, this experience I felt. And so these were the few times in my adolescent years that I experienced with Mother, and her teaching me so many things. And my great love for the Blessed Sacrament and the Holy Rosary was also Mother. I would get up early in the morning just to be there for Mass and sit this side of the door. Sometimes the sisters would get a little bit angry with me, move away, because I used to make a piece of convenience of myself, just that I would get Mother's sign of peace. You know, I was really fascinated with her, and I really just wanted to be around her. And so these are the times that, you know, where I really, it instilled in me a great devotion. Jesus present in the Blessed Sacrament, and of course Our Lady, because she'd always take me to the statue of Our Lady and she would say, give it to her, you know, and she will give it to Jesus, and Jesus will make all things work out for your good. And so these were the little things that still carry me through in my life. And even now in my grave big problems with my children and domestic work and things like that, I know where to go because she showed me the way. And I would just like to share one very personal experience is that when I got married, I married a Hindu. And, you know, being a very staunch Catholic, marrying a Hindu was a very big thing, you know. And I mean, not everybody understood that. I myself was very guilty at that point of time, you know. And so what I did was, one day very sheepishly, you know, I took my husband, though I loved my husband very much, but I wanted him to get Mother's blessing. Nothing could really go ahead without that. So I took him to Mother, and I very you know, put my head down. I said, Mother, this is my husband, and he's a Hindu. Mother was just looked at me and she smiled. And you know, she had a way of shaking me up a little bit like that. And so she said, oh, what a wonderful man he is. And Sandra, let him be the best Hindu he can. You know, and that gave me such a great comfort. And I never felt guilty again. In fact, I was so proud of him after that. And he really helped me to be the best Catholic I could be, you know. And it was vice versa. And so, then later on, as I had my children, and I used to have all the domestic problems in the world and all the problems, and I really didn't like much housework because I was wanting to run to church every day and do a lot of not social work, just loved to, because mother always said, you see Jesus. So I wanted to take more and more of Jesus, and sometimes she would get a little bit upset with me, and she would tell me, Sandra, as ma'am over here also said, that your family comes first, and you know how to get to heaven. Because once I asked her, mother, how to be holy, and then she would say that you must do your housework best as you can, and then you must look after your children the best as you can. And I was very disappointed, I used to feel like, I wanted to say something like, you must go to Shishu Bhavan more, or you must go to Premdan more, you must go to the poor more. And then one day she told me, she said, every day you do something special for someone in your family. So, it became a habit. Like every day, like the daily chores would really get me down. But, I would try to do it with love, because she said that's the best way to please Jesus. Do it with love. If you have to pick up anything, you have to do anything, and it's a real dirge on you because of the daily monotony of it, just do it with love and say, I love you, Jesus, and do it. So these are the little things I used to run to her with. She was my neighbor, and it was the greatest privilege I think I can ever have. This is the greatest gift God has ever given me. And I really don't know, I can just go on and on because there are many instances, but I'd like to just tell you one more thing. Like, on the fingers, or 10 fingers, she would say, you have to always, I will, I want, with God's blessings, to be holy. She used to show her 10 fingers to us when we used to go as a group, and then we all learnt it. And wherever we go, you just talk about it. And it's so simple to be holy, because we used to wonder, my goodness, to be holy means like, probably you have to become like a hermit, or you have to be, praying all day, and, God will spoil all our fun, because, He doesn't like this and He doesn't like that, because the 10 Commandments say so many things, that do not do this and do not do that, and God will spoil all our fun. But, the most wonderful thing I want to share is that, as her words say, it's not a luxury for a few, but it's a simple duty for everyone. We can be holy by the simplest and the smallest things we can do. And by being with her and learning so much from her, it taught me that every night before going to bed, to say sorry to God for all the wrong that you do, and to ask Him to make you a better person the next day, and to do everything the best way you can with love. Not to do it for any other reason, because it will not be kept in heaven in the treasures there when you go. So with this, I'd just like to say, I just thank God for this beautiful experience of sharing this testimony with you. I can just go on and on, but I know the time is short. But really, she is now, she's always been like a mother to me also, and my guide. And today I am a lay MC because of all this. I always wanted to follow her footsteps, and so today I am so happy and so humbled by being in the lay MC and just following the statutes that have been laid down according to her charisms, and we follow it, and we're asking more and more people to come, because it's such a beautiful way to be holy. I mean, just to enjoy life and basking in the love of God and the charism of Mother. Thank you so much.
Now the last presenter, there is one untold story about our last presenter. That's Lucas. Lucas has done 300 short films, 300 documentaries and short films for various international organizations. And yes, we'll give them. And the very famous Mother Teresa Film Festival was organized by Sunil. Right? The whole world saw the news, and we were all excited. And he sent all his films to various dioceses and regions, and there were several Mother Teresa international festivals. Wonderful. He initiated. He ignited the whole thing. Yeah? And Father Sunil Lucas, father of 3 children.
Thank you all. Actually, all these wonderful people have had the privilege of knowing Mother personally, and their stories are their own stories, their own personal experiences. Unfortunately, I don't have a story like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you. But I had asked a speaker called Mr. Vijay Iyengar to be present here and tell his story. But unfortunately, he is in Taiwan today. So therefore, he will not be able to tell his story. But in my career as a videographer, I had the opportunity to listen to this story from Mr. Iyengar's mouth, and he said this in the presence of Mother Teresa. So I know it is absolutely true, because no one would dare to lie in front of Mother. So I'm just repeating a story, a second-hand story. It did move me, and I think it will impact you. So let me try my best to portray this story as closely as possible as Mr. Vijay Iyengar did. Just to tell you, for the record, Vijay Iyengar is an industrialist. He owns companies like Rugby Pharmaceuticals, previously called Infar Industries, and he's a very, very rich man, a Brahman from Kerala, the best lot. So that was Vijay Iyengar, and he shared this story, and I had the opportunity to videotape this. This was way back in the late 80s, early 90s that I heard this story, which I'm going to share with you. In Vijay's words, he says, one day he was traveling on an aircraft from Delhi to Kolkata. The year was about 1969, 1970. And he was traveling first class, obviously. And Mother Teresa, possibly, he doesn't know for sure, was traveling on the same flight, and probably a stewardess or someone saw a sister sitting somewhere in the aisles. Mother was not so well known those days. So she saw sister sitting in economy and then said, "Sister, there is a seat vacant in first class. Why don't you take this seat?" So Mother, as God would have it, Mother was seated next to Vijay Iyengar. And Vijay was reading his newspaper, and breakfast came. You know, those days, and the flight was an Indian Airlines flight, and breakfast came. And breakfast used to be served in that tray, in that plastic tray and stuff like that. And so Mother, as soon as breakfast came, Mother took it and popped it into her bag. And there was an apple. That too went into the bag. And Vijay was sitting there, and okay, he glanced at her a couple of times, but okay, he thought about it. Anyway, when the time came to clear, Vijay just opened his foil and he saw what was there. He was not interested in eating. He says, "Ma'am, you can clear." And there was an apple. He took the apple and he started taking a bite from it. So the air hostess was just ready to take the tray away when Mother says, "Excuse me, are you going to waste all that?" So he says, "Yes." He's saying, "Are you sure?" Well, "Yes." Well, "Can I have it?" Says, "Sure." But he was intrigued. Who's this woman? She obviously looks European. She's dressed in a sari in a typical Bengali way. And why is she asking for food sitting on an aircraft, sitting in first class? So he was intrigued. He tried to go back to his paper. He said, "I could not read. Something kept gnawing at me. Who is this lady?" So he turned around and he said, "Ma'am, what will you do with this food?" She says, "I have a lot of children to feed." So she says, "Oh," he said, "Fine. How many children do you have?" She said, 400 and something. He said, "Wow." Wow. He says, "What do you mean?" Then Mother explained the concept that, like, actually I run a home, and when people go to abort a child, I say, "Don't abort that child, give the child to me, and this is what I do." And, so we have these orphans, and he was very impressed. And he was a big man. He still is a big man. So, and those days, it was not with these security threats and stuff like that. From first class, you could go. In fact, children and all could go very easily into the cockpit, and you could call also from the cockpit, make a phone call if necessary. So he had a very good rapport with the then MD of Indian Airlines. So he hit upon an idea. He said, "Okay, this is my opportunity to be a good boy and do something good." So what he did was, he went into the aircraft, into the cockpit, and he made a call to the MD in Delhi. I understand that he would play golf or something with that MD. So he rang him up and he says, "Hey, what do you do with the food that is left over in this aircraft?" He says, "We throw it away." He says, "Can I ask you a favor?" He says, "What?" He says, "Can you give me that food?" He says, "What is wrong with you, Vijay?" He says, "No, I want this food. There's a very interesting person sitting next to me. And, she runs this orphanage. And, like, I'll tell you about it. I just, can I have that food?" So, "Sure, Vijay." He says, then can I call my vehicle over to come and collect the food? He says, no, Vijay, you just tell me the lady's address and I will send that food to her. Believe you me, from that day till today, that is what happens to all the food that is left over on the aircraft till today. And today, many more airlines have emulated that. You know, it was a simple gesture of a man sitting next to her on a flight, and till today, all the food that is left over from the flight kitchens are sent over to MC homes. That was Mother Teresa's impact, and it happened instantly. Anyway, and it is sent by their own, at their own cost. Thereafter, Vijay felt very nice. He met a very nice person, and he wanted to do more. So then came the Bangladesh war, and there were talks of people dying, and everyone wants to do good. They didn't know what to do. Vijay was also part of the Rotary Club and the Calcutta Alipur Round Table 12. It's an inner wheel, and the Rotarians have those things. So they collected, they're a group of big, rich, powerful people. They collected some 50,000 rupees. And they didn't know what to do with it. They wanted to do some help for these refugees. So they said, what do we do with it? Vijay happened to be the president. He says, oh, I know a lady and she does a lot of work. Let us give it to her. So they said, fine. They trusted Vijay. So Vijay comes over to Mother house and he says, Mother, I have a gift for you. She says, what is it? I've got 50,000 rupees for you. And he expected, oh, thank you so much. And guess what Mother tells him? I don't need it. He says, sorry? He says, I don't need it. He says, what do you mean, Mother, that you don't need it? He says, I don't need it. When Jesus gives me a cause, then I need the money. Without a cause, I don't need money. I don't believe in banks. I don't believe in keeping it in safe deposit boxes. So I don't need it. I have no use. If there is a need, Jesus will provide the means. And here was Vijay, a quite angry Vijay, by his own admission. He said, I have talked to my club members and I have brought this money here, and now suddenly she refuses me. How do I go back and face them? Loss of face for me. How do I do that? And he was still sulking away when someone came and told Mother, the refugees are streaking down Jesso Road and they're coming in hordes. Mother, you must do something and this and that. So Mother said, okay, let's go. And Mother had one old ambulance, and she would always sit with the driver in the front and let the sisters and all sit at the back. So she asked Vijay, would you like to come along? And Vijay was still smarting from, from the lack of cooperation from Mother. So he didn't want to probably go back and, start his work in that frame of mind. So he said, I've got nothing to lose. I mean, what to do? And so he went off, sulking nonetheless, but he went. And there he said, Mother stopped on the road and wiped someone's child's nose and cleansed someone and started, oh, I must do something for these people. I must do something for these people. And suddenly she looked on her left and there was one closed place which was obviously vacant. So she goes up to that, the Darwan there and asks him, what is this? He says, it used to be a poultry farm, but it is abandoned now. So why? He says, because foxes come in the night and they take away the chicken from here. So this poultry farm has failed. Who does it belong to? It belongs to one Mr. Kothari. So she says, okay, then I need this place. I must go and meet Mr. Kothari. So then Vijay, a glimmer of hope in Vijay's heart. He says, okay, here is an opportunity to use my 50,000 and save my face. So what does Vijay do? He says, come Mother, let us go. So they go, and it was somewhere on Kamak Street that they come and meet this Mr. Kothari. And well, I don't know how they managed to get this appointment, but maybe it was Vijay's card that gained them the appointment. And he goes up there and they sit, and Mother tells Mr. Kothari, you know that land you have on Jesso Road? I want it. So Mr. Kothari says, I'm sorry, ma'am, that's not for sale. Says, no, you don't understand. I don't want to buy it. I want it. So Mr. Kothari says, no, you don't understand, ma'am. It is not for sale. He says, no, Mr. Kothari, you don't understand. I'm not asking you to sell it to me. I want it. So Mr. Kothari said, this is getting very interesting. He called for tea. In Viji's word, he called for tea. And he says, in Viji's own words, he says, I don't know what happened between the time that we started the tea, but before I could put my teacup back on the saucer, he had called in his lawyers and drafted the paper to sell it to Mother Teresa for 1 rupee. He said, I will not give it to you, I will sell it to you for a token sum of 1 rupee. 1 rupee in 1970 was still, like it was nothing. He sold it to her for 1 rupee. There goes Viji's plans. Viji wanted to spend 50,000. After the 1 rupee, there's still 49,999 rupees left. What does this man do with it? So then he says, okay, Viji, you go home. It's late today. You come back tomorrow. And then we'll see what we can do. So Viji said, okay, let's go there and let's see what we can do. So the next day he goes back with mother, and he takes his contractor and an architect and his engineers, and they go. He says, yes, mother, what do you want? And mother is there, incidentally, mother spent that night with 6 sisters in the chicken coop. And foxes did come in the night. It was a horrifying night for the sisters, but it seems mother was quite contented. She knew that nothing would happen to them. Because that place was quite desolate and stuff. It's not developed as it is today. Anyway, Viji lands up with his team of engineers and architects. And then they go and says, okay, mother's already working. She's up and about from morning and she knows exactly what she wants. Says, okay, Viji, what do you want, mother? He says, oh, I want a home, I want a shelter here for the mother and the child, and I want a dispensary here, and I want the laundry to be done there, and on the outside, I want a building for the men. So, and this I want, at least for the moment, this is what I want. So, and Viji knew construction. So Viji knew that this is going to cost a lot more than 50,000 rupees. So he says, mother, but can you tell me, what is your priority? What do you want first? He says, Viji, I want all of it. He says, yes, mother, I know that you want all of it. Don't worry, I will help you generate more money. I will, I'm there with you. But you tell me what do you want first of all? He says, Viji, I can't take the child and the mother and throw the father out. I can't take the father and throw the mother out. I mean, you tell me what to do. So I want all of it. He says, but mother, we only have 50,000 rupees and this will cost you a lot of money. He says, Viji, do you believe in God? He says, of course, mother, I believe in God. He says, do you believe the work that we are doing is God's work? He says, definitely, mother, what we are doing is God's work. He's saying that when you're doing God's work, don't doubt. When you're doing God's work, don't doubt. And mother went off to attend whatever she was doing. That left Viji standing there, scratching his head. And his architect comes up to him and he says, oh, yes, saab, bolo. Kya banayega? So he says that, I want this and I want that and I want that. He says, sir, that will cost you 3.5 lakhs. Viji said, I had no answer to give him. So I thought for a while and I asked him, do you believe in God? He says, of course I believe in God.
No doubt.
Do you believe that this is God's work? He's saying, of course, it is the punya cause. This is punya, this is very good work. This is God's work. He's saying, when you're doing God's work, don't doubt God. He says, because I had no other answer, I told him that and I walked out. Anyway, construction happened and everything was in place. Final cost of production, cost of total construction, 7.5 lakhs. 7.5 lakhs. And then, in Viji's words, not a single day was lost because of lack of either money, resources, manpower, nothing. Every single day. There were instances where people came, anonymous people came, left money and said, I'm going to pay the taxi and come back, and never came back. There were such instances also. Total cost of project, 7.5 lakhs. And then Viji said, mother, this is your project? He says, yes. Thank you, Viji. Thank you very much. And she says, okay, fine, Viji. See you later. He says, mother, I have a problem. Saying, what's your problem? I have 50,000 rupees left. Can you guess what mother said? I don't need it. Thank you.
Sunil is basically a filmmaker, right? And he could express so well, like a real movie. Yeah. The neuro-linguistic program says that whenever we listen to something in the form of a movie, it remains in your mind for years together. I'm sure, Sunil, we will remember this Iyengar, Kotari, all these stories, Vijay stories, for more than 20 years. Really, thank you very much. Of course, you will remember Sunil also. So it was a wonderful sharing, real good sharing. Sincere thanks to Mr. and Mrs. G.D. Agarwala, Mrs. Chanda Chakraborty, Mrs. Sandra Singh, and Mr. Sunil Lucas. And just before concluding, let me say one thing. We were all enlightened by your sharing. It was a real spiritual experience for all of us. We will take home all these rich experiences and knowledge.